Lights, camera, action.
Welcome to the Requel podcast. This is another pitch from Tyler here in the car because that's the best time to thank him. You know, I got 6 hours of driving for work. So we're going to talk Madam Web. Now, I know the character. I'm not super familiar with the character. My most experience with the character came from the Spider-Man animated TV series. And now, as most people are like, why do Madam Web for a film? I thought back and I thought about it. I'm going to give you a pitch for the film, and I'm going to work within somewhat of the framework of what we were given with the film, but I'm going to pitch it as if I was Sony trying to make sense of things. All right? So here we go. You start off with a young Cassandra, okay? And we just start, and we learn her story back, and I would keep elements such as Ben, and the idea that Ben's going to date May, okay? And I would have a scene early on of Richard Parker having to leave for work and Mary not wanting to go too, but she's on bed rest because of the pregnancy and the timing, and Richard asking Ben to watch over her, okay? And have Mary like maybe staying with Ben or something. I don't know. That's what I'm going to go with because I think there's a very unique thing to this about the idea of Cassandra having known Ben. Now, what I would do is, one of the biggest missed opportunities in here is in the film that we were given, Cassandra's mom is looking for these spiders to heal her daughter. I would do that, but in a different way. I'd do something where I tie her back to maybe she worked at Oscorp and bringing in the world, right? And she was looking into spider research. Something where you tie Cassandra to the spider, okay? And it bit her and it cured her disease, or it kept it at, or she gets something from Oscorp that helps with her disease that she doesn't realize it. She takes medication but she doesn't really know what it's for. She thinks it's for something else. But she's already working as an EMT, and she already has these like little psychic visions. The idea is that Cassandra herself starts having these visions. She's had these visions all the time. They're getting stronger, and she's actually seeing more of these visions coming true. And what I would work on the story is, I know that the script was retooled, redone, and whatever movie you're getting, and that's why I said I'm working within the framework that we were given, because I've heard that one of the ideas was this very kind of Terminator-esque film. And so what I would do is I would take my villain, and if you want to do Ezekiel, fine, but I would retweak him if you want to do something else. And the idea is the villain is going to the different universes and killing the spider people. And he comes, and maybe this is it. He comes with, he has his own spider, and we can, if you want to do the whole backstory of how that spider is, fine. But he's from another Earth. We're just going to say that. Another multiverse, okay? This all has a point, and you guys have heard me say before, I'm getting tired of multiverses, but just roll with me here, okay? And he comes, and he's there to kill a young Peter. Sandra has this image. She has this vision of it. And she gets bitten by his spider, okay? But instead of getting spider powers like we're used to, her powers she enhances her clairvoyancy, and it actually connects her to the webs of life. And what I'd like to see is something where she is Madam Web. Yes, it's her last name. But there's something about the way she sees things, and how the webs of how people connect, how things interact, and what brings us together and holds us together, the bonds. It's almost like we could see in this unique vision of how she sees how things are connected in the web that we weave. What I think would be good is, if you want to do the spider women / girls, just do one. She has a vision of a spider woman. Pick one. We did Julia, okay? And she goes and she has to help because the Sax is there to kill Julia because she has the potential to be a spider woman too. She gets bitten by the spider and starts developing her powers as what's going on, and Cassandra's trying to help her. Now, Cassandra starts having problems. The stronger her visions get, the weaker her body's getting. Okay? And as the story goes on, basically, the clincher is Cassandra has to make a choice. And what she learns is she has to stop taking this medication, and her powers will enhance, and she can see the future. She can help will things, and she's connected to all the spider people. And what we see is we see her being able to look into the multiverse and see the different Spider-Men, Spider people. And then when she looks, she sees Maddie Franklin and the other girl. And even maybe we get a quick cameo of like Garfield or, Tobey Maguire, and sees the Miles Morales. Because we know they kind of tied the MCU with the live-action Donald Glover cameo. My idea is she sees all the webs and how they're connected. And she's this overseer, right? And so my idea would be they stop the villain from killing Peter. Okay? But Cassandra has to stop. She stops taking her medicine, and then her degenerative disease kicks in. She stops taking the medicine. It strengthens her powers. She saves Julia, and her and Julia stop the villain. Okay? And they end up having to kill his spider. Or his spider, it dies on its own. And the idea is we get this kind of pseudo setup that we get to meet Uncle Ben that we never met with Tom Holland. So we get to see Uncle Ben and Richard and Mary. We never got to meet. And the idea is that this kind of was setting up the world before Tom, right as Peter is born. And that's supposed to be Tom Holland Peter, but we never get to meet May, but we hear about her. But then the film ends where Cassandra basically tells Ben that she has to go and that he's on a path. Because it is Uncle Ben, I would have him say the line to her about great power and great responsibility, because that's Uncle Ben's thing. And, you could have Madam Web smile and she understands it, Later on, that could have been like her part of her art is accepting that as well. And, she's now blind and she's in a specialized wheelchair. And her and Julia are actually going to travel through the multiverse because they can connect to the people with spiders and her clairvoyant powers. I think kind of like how they did with Titans, if anyone's familiar, how Beast Boy traveled the multiverse through the red. Madam Web can travel the multiverse through the connection she has through energy to the spider people. It's all up in the air, right? But then what you do is she takes Julia and they're going, but then you have a post-credit scene where Julia arrives and she's up, and what she does is she witnesses Venom. And what you've done now is you kind of winked and shown the origin of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but you've also found that you can now set up your Sony Spider-Man Spider-Less verse with Morbius and Craven and Venom, where now it's a world about Spider-Women. Since you're not using Andrew Garfield, you're not bringing Tobey back, you now could have Julia as your Spider-Woman, and then she gets another Spider-Woman, like Maddie, or the other girl. And now they're your Spider protagonist characters in a world taking on Morbius, or Venom, or Craven. Wherever you move it, and if you want to do a Sinister Six type movie, you can do it with these Spider-Women, and since you're not doing a live-action Spider-Man outside the MCU. So you really can start to make a cohesive universe with these spider characters that makes sense because you're leading with a Spider-Woman instead of a Spider-Man, and you're building up these different characters. I have to sit down and plot it to make it all perfect, but this is just kind of me thinking outside the box here, working in the framework. I mean, they said it in the 2000s, but it didn't feel like a movie of 2003. It felt like it was in the 90s. All the needle drops were like 90s, except for Toxic. I lived in 2003. I remember it quite well. Even some of the fashion choices felt more 90s in 2003. That way you kind of have this, like, you're doing two different things. You're building your Spider-Verse from different angles, but you're setting your Sony-verse up for something else. Now, if you didn't want to set it in the past, you could have just done a straight origin film where Madam Web meets Julia guides her, same kind of plot. Take out Uncle Ben, take out, the birth of Peter Parker thing. And Madam Web kind of sees the potential spider people, and the movie focuses on her and Julia, right? But then at the end, they're going to find Maddie and the other girl, and they have the spider from the Spider Hunter, and they'll get abilities or whatever. And then you find out that on the news channel or whatever, it talks about Michael Morbius on the loose, or Venom tearing up San Francisco, and the idea is that they're like, maybe we should look into this or something. I just think that Sony's doing this whole universe thing that doesn't make sense. They're not even giving us good stories, and tangentially trying to connect to Spider-Man without connecting to Spider-Man. We know that Morbius was a mess because in the trailer there was references to Spider-Man. There was Spider-Man imagery in the trailer, and nothing came of it. So if you can't do a Spider-Man movie, do a Spider-Woman as kind of your Spider-Man stand-in, and build your universe. That's my quick pitch of what could have been.
Keep right to merge onto I-71 south toward Columbus.
What could have been a unique experience and a way of bringing in other Spider characters in the Spider-Verse, making it all connect to each other. Take care. Enjoy. Check out Tyler. That's me here on Fanfare, where I'll do these Requel episodes, or I'll pop in and give you a proper Fanfare episode, and also on Krypton Report. Take care.